Mexico City, 1629. It rains for 36 hours straight. When the sky finally clears, the streets are gone. Mass is held on rooftops. The wealthy move between balconies by canoe. And the water does not leave, not that week, not that month. For 5 years, the capital of New Spain stands in a lake, and back in Madrid, the crown seriously debates abandoning the city forever. It doesn't. The city is still here, 22 million people. Only now it has the opposite problem. It is running out of water. And these are not two opposite disasters. They are the same disaster, 400 years apart. Start with how fast it's happening. Parts of this city are sinking by up to half a meter every single year. No other megacity on Earth sinks this fast. Jakarta, at its very worst, fell at half that speed. Over the last century, the historic center has gone down by around 10 meters. That's a 3-story building, swallowed whole. But here's the line that explains everything you're about to see. The lake isn't pulling the city down. The city has been drinking the lake, out from under its own feet. Ask why, and you'll get the famous answer. Well, they built the city on a lake. Of course it sinks. It sounds obvious. It's also not the real story. Cities stand on ancient lakes all over the world, and none of them fall half a meter a year. By the end of this video, you'll know what's actually happening beneath these streets, why the world's best engineers call it irreversible, why the city floods and thirsts in the same afternoon, and why a story that ran in one direction for 400 years has quietly started to run backwards. Here's your hint. The lake never disappeared. To understand the trap, you need to meet 3 people. The first is a king, Nezahualcoyotl, poet, philosopher, engineer. When floods hit the island capital of the Aztec world in 1449, he didn't try to remove the lake. He organized it. A dike, 16 kilometers long, splitting the salty water from the fresh, shielding the city while feeding its floating gardens. It never failed in 70 years. Tenochtitlan didn't stand next to the water. It lived with it. The second is a conqueror, Hernán Cortés, 1521. To take the city, the Spanish built 13 warships, hauled them over the mountains, and launched them onto the lake, cannons on water. They cut the aqueducts, they smashed the great dike. And when the city fell, his own officers begged him to rebuild somewhere solid, and they even had candidates picked out. He refused. The new capital would stand exactly on the bones of the old one, and the new city would no longer live with the lake. It would try to remove it. The third is the man who paid for that decision. Enrico Martinez spent more than 2 decades digging the first great drain in the Americas, a tunnel through the mountains, tens of thousands of workers. One obsession: get the water out of this valley. Then came September 1629, and that 36-hour rain. The gates of his unfinished tunnel were closed on his own advice, to keep the flood from tearing apart his life's work. The city drowned for 5 years. Much of the population fled. Tens of thousands would never return. Martinez was thrown into prison and released within days because no one else alive understood the water. He died 3 years later, still working on the drain. The project he started took 182 years to finish. After 1629, the sentence was signed. The lake had to die. Spain dug for 2 centuries. The Republic finished the job in 1900 with the Grand Canal. A lake the size of a small sea shrank to a puddle. Problem solved. Except the water had nowhere to go, but down. Here's what 4 centuries of engineering missed. The lake disappeared from the surface, but the basin beneath it stayed saturated. Layers of soft clay, up to 100 meters thick, sitting above the aquifer that now supplies much of the city. Then, the city got thirsty. The first wells appeared in the 1840s. Within decades, there were hundreds. Today, around 2/3 of everything 22 million people drink, cook with, and shower with is pumped straight out of the ground beneath the city. About 1 billion gallons, every single day. And the ground pays for every liter. Think of that clay as a stack of wet cardboard. Pull the water out, and the cardboard crumples under the weight above, and nothing uncrumples it. Scientists have measured it. The clays beneath the center have already lost about 1/6 of their thickness, and the compression is permanent. You could refill every drop tomorrow. The ground would never recover the elevation it has already lost. So, no, the city isn't sinking into its lake. The city is drinking its lake and settling into the space the water leaves behind. You can see the consequences everywhere once you know where to look. The cathedral on the main square tilted so badly that engineers spent 6 years and $33 million digging soil out from under its higher side, not to stop it from sinking, but to make it sink evenly. The metro tells the same story. Years before one elevated line partially failed, the system's own director summed it up in one sentence. The line was dancing. The train was floating over the tracks. But buildings are just the surface. The deeper damage is stranger. This city is breaking gravity. Mexico City sits 2,200 meters up in the mountains. Having drunk its own floor, it now imports water from outside, pumping it up and over the mountain ranges. Before a single drop reaches a tap, it has already climbed more than a vertical kilometer. And then there's the masterpiece, the Grand Canal. The drain that finally killed the lake in 1900 worked by gravity. Sewage simply flowed downhill, out of the valley. But the city kept sinking. Today, a canal built to carry 80 cubic meters a second manages about 15, because in places, downhill no longer exists. Mexico City now pumps its own sewage uphill, 24 hours a day. Gravity has stopped working here. The city didn't just sink below its streets, it sank below its own plumbing. And even that is not the strangest part. The strangest part is what happens when it rains. Because here's the myth. The city is drying out, blame the climate. Then June arrives. Mexico City gets more rain than London, and almost all of it falls in a few summer months. Streets turn into rivers, cars float, and a few neighborhoods away, families line up with buckets, waiting for a water truck. A city in flood and in drought, on the same afternoon. How is that possible? The bottom of the valley is sealed. Concrete and asphalt cover the old lake bed, so the rain can't soak back into the clay it came from. Instead, it becomes a threat, and the city pumps it out over the mountains as fast as it can. Then it pays, in electricity, to pump drinking water in, through those same mountains. The dead lake has one more trick. Its soft clay traps and amplifies seismic waves, like jelly on a plate, so parts of the former lake bed shake far more intensely than the solid ground around them. In 1985, a quake centered 350 kilometers away hit hardest exactly where the lake used to be. Rain, money, some of the best engineers on the planet, and the city still falls. Because for 400 years, everyone asked how to get rid of the water. Nobody asked what the city would lose with it. This is what it lost. By June 2024, the reservoirs that feed the city from outside had fallen to 26%, an all-time low, feeding public warnings about a possible day zero. The day normal supply could no longer be maintained. The rains arrived just in time. That year. And then there's Texcoco. On the driest stretch of the old lake bed, Mexico started building its new international airport. Terminals, like spaceships, runways laid on the ancient clay. In 2018, the country voted, and the project was cancelled. Billions already spent, an enormous construction site abandoned. But here's the twist. Instead, the land became a vast ecological park. Engineers stopped fighting the water and let it return. Today, water covers the ground where aircraft were supposed to land. The city tried to build its future on the lake bed. Instead, the lake became the future of the site. And remember the cardboard. As the clay compacts, it permanently loses part of its ability to store water. The city sinks, while the ground beneath it gets worse at holding the very rain that still falls from above. This story doesn't just continue, it accelerates. So, is any of this fixable? Here's the honest answer, and the proof is in the oldest streets. In 1953, the city banned new wells in the historic center. The center is still sinking, but many times slower than at its peak. The rule works. Water you don't pull from under your feet doesn't drop you. And on more than 70,000 rooftops, the city has started catching the rain it spent centuries treating as an enemy. Now go back to 1629. Under 5 years of floodwater, they told the king to abandon this city. He didn't. They said it again after the earthquakes, again when the reservoirs nearly ran dry. The city stays. 22 million people add steps to their monuments, patch their pipes, and keep pumping. For 4 centuries, Mexico City tried to push the water out. Today, it pumps rain out, drinking water in, and sewage uphill. The lake never disappeared. It became the system the city cannot live without. Mexico City is not sinking into its lake. It is drinking the lake out from beneath itself.